think I'm looking, Chuck, we're good, okay. Fan one more time. Let's get it cooled down in here. And then we'll go back to our regularly scheduled program. Everybody take care of your neighbor today. Friends, we have a lot at stake this year in this election, because the problems facing us today can only be resolved by leaders who are willing to sit down at the table and, without compromising their core values, work out the disagreements to make sure we get something done that moves us forward. So friends, I want to tell you, there's a real choice in Maine's 2nd Congressional District race. It's a choice between sending someone to Washington, D.C. who has a track record of working with everyone and anyone who is willing to do the right thing for Maine families, or someone who puts ideology before working with others and refuses to come to the table. And this is a choice. It's a choice between someone who has always been willing to work with anyone and anyone to do the right thing, or someone who refuses to even stand on the same stage with all the candidates in the race to discuss the issues impacting our district. Someone who's been willing to break the rules to benefit millionaires like himself. So friends, I know that with Mike Michaud running for governor, that I have some pretty big New Balance sneakers to fill. And I know that I am up for the challenge. My question is, are you up for that challenge? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Stay cool. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Congressman Chellie Pingree.
Okay, hello Portland, hello Maine. Okay, just try to stay cool and calm. The president is on his way, the former President Bill Clinton. But let me just talk to you for a few minutes. It is very exciting to be in a hot night in Portland with so many people who I know are going to work very hard in the next 2 months to elect Democrats like the ones you've already met tonight, Shenna Bellows, Emily Kane. And I know we're all going to work hard for every candidate for the state legislature and for Mike Michaud. I want to talk a little bit about Mike tonight, but just a few words about the United States Congress. Okay, we're going back to work again next week. And if you're hoping for some change that protects average Americans, I just don't want you to hold your breath right now. When we were sent home for recess almost 5 weeks ago, in case you forgot, the House of Representatives have just voted to sue President Obama. Okay, never mind that they're suing him for doing his job, that every legal scholar on both sides of the aisle say this case will be thrown out of court immediately. It's a waste of $1 million, and it's entirely politically motivated. But the real scandal is that this is a total waste of our time, our citizens' time, our taxpayers' time, just to have a grudge match. Here's what we should have been doing instead. We should have been voting on our proposal to let parents and students refinance student loans and take advantage of the low interest rates we have today. We should have been voting on a proposal to guarantee equal pay for equal work. And And how about restoring emergency unemployment benefits for people who are still struggling out there in this economy? Or what about an increase in the minimum wage? And you know, I just want to say the last time there was an increase in the tipped minimum wage for servers in restaurants, President Clinton was still Governor Clinton. Right now it's only $2.13. That's about a price of a cup of coffee that you buy at a restaurant. That's what we're paying our servers today. We have a lot of work to do, and the Republicans in Washington just aren't on our side. So far, they voted to roll back protections for workers in this country, to weaken labor unions, and you've probably heard that they have voted more than 50 times to take away the health reforms of the Affordable Care Act. So I'm thrilled that President Clinton is coming here tonight. He knows a thing or two about being a good governor, and I think he's going to have a few things to say about the governor that we currently have in Maine. But in case he forgets anything, let me just say a couple of things. Just like the Republicans in Congress, we have a governor who's trying to take us backwards. He wants to undo what we've worked on for decades to accomplish. As you've already heard tonight, this governor wants to roll back women's rights, workers' rights. He wants to let industry make up their own environmental rules, and he thinks Social Security is welfare. You may have heard my friend Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the chairman of the Democratic Party, who came to visit the state last month. When she was in Portland, she said Governor LePage basically wants to repeal the 20th century. This governor drives away international investment. He embarrasses us across the country. He divides us as a state. We have to have a change. I don't want to be all doom and gloom. Remember 2009 when President Obama was first elected and how different it was in Washington and Augusta? Now, we didn't get everything right, but we passed historic health care reform, beginning universal coverage for everyone in this country. We passed financial services reform. The first bill the president signed was the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act. And since then, I've worked with my colleagues to support new laws that are very beneficial here in Maine to encourage small farming, get locally grown food on everyone's table, and to make sure you can buy fresh, healthy food with your food stamp benefits, so it's affordable for everybody and good for the farmers. When we had a Democratic governor in this state, he made major investments in the economy and the people of Maine, investments in wind power and renewable energy, clean water, health care, research and development. And our legislature and governor stood up to the chemical companies and stood up for Maine kids and families and said, no toxic chemicals in our kids' toys. So let me just say a couple of things about Mike Michaud and why it is so important to send him to Augusta. And it's not easy. I'm going to miss Mike in Congress. My colleagues are going to miss him tremendously. He's very well respected, and he works tremendously hard. Many of you know he's the ranking member on the Veterans Affairs Committee, and he works across the aisle with the Republican chairman of the Veterans Affairs Committee to negotiate a VA reform bill. We need a governor who believes in negotiating and working across the aisle and working for good ideas. Mike serves on the Transportation Committee, and he fights for our transportation infrastructure right here in Maine. He cares about making investments in Maine, and that's what he will do as a governor. But the one thing I want to say, Mike, has worked really hard on is to support making sure that everything our United States troops wear is made in America. You've probably heard that Mike worked very hard on what's called the Berry Amendment to make sure that footwear was made here in Maine. And all of you know that Maine is a state that still makes footwear, and we have a long tradition in making sure we had manufacturing in this state. And maybe it's because Mike comes from a family where his grandfather worked in the mill and his father worked in the mill and Mike himself worked in the mill. He understands how important it is to have those manufacturing jobs here in Maine and to make things here in America. I can tell you firsthand, I get up in Washington, sometimes go across the street to get a cup of coffee, and there's Mike, first thing in the morning, already on his way to work. Last thing at night, the lights are still on in his office. And all the time he was fighting for the Berry Amendment. It didn't matter if he was in a caucus with President Obama and everybody was talking about something else, Mike would be right up and say, when are you going to do something about this problem? When are you going to make sure it's all made in America? I was at the Bath Iron Works shipyard when we were launching a ship, and one of the officials from the Pentagon came in, sat down next to me. Mike was right here. I said, "Oh, have you met Mike Mishu, our other member of Congress?" He said, "Mike Mishu? He sat with me on the bus the whole way over, and he wouldn't shut up about the Berry Amendment." That's Mike. He served on the Appropriations Committee in the Maine State Legislature. He understands budgets and finances and working people and the struggles people have to put food on the table and the struggle Maine has to keep those jobs in Maine. He's got a good heart. He works hard. He's going to work with all of us. He represents the change we need here in America. I'm going to work hard every day till election to make sure I return and Mike becomes the governor, and I hope you're all going to be there with all of us. Thank you very much for being here tonight. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. Get out your fans. Fan yourself, fan your neighbor. I think that President Clinton is getting close. So we're going to take a very short break. I'm going to go downstairs, and we're going to do our best to get him right up here and to talk to all of you. Thank you so much for being here tonight, for the president, for Mike Mishu, and for the future of the state of Maine. Thank you very, very much.